Another week, boys, and another TWAB. This week at Bungie, we've got a lot going on. Hello and welcome to another installment of This Week at Bungie, our weekly source of news and chatter from around the studio. Nothing too wild happened this week, right? Just your normal Monday morning announcement of Bungie joining Sony Interactive Entertainment. Well, okay, it's kind of a big deal. If you haven't heard much about it, well, we've joined Sony Interactive Entertainment, and there's a lot to unpack here. And we highly recommend reading through our announcement article for Bungie CEO Pete Parsons and our Destiny 2 shared vision article from the development team. Now, in the realm of Destiny 2, we don't expect you to notice much of a change in your day-to-day adventures. As a Guardian, we aren't going to make Destiny 2 platform exclusive. We're committed to a Destiny that you can play on your platform of choice, and that has the same great game experiences regardless of what device you are using. We're going to continue developing amazing new worlds for multiple platforms, and we're more than excited about what potential this unlocks for us. So with that being said, what else is going on? Well, it's February for starters. We're less than 3 weeks away from the launch of Witch Queen. Did you see we hit 1 million pre-orders? Did you hear that, Savage dude? 1 million Guardians with like a word. No lie, guys. This is looking to be the biggest expansion ever in terms of scope, pre-orders. It's about to be nuts. Now, we also had a trailer that went live on Tuesday. Have you seen it yet? Well, even if you have, we're going to embed the video right here for you to go through the carnage frame by frame hunting for new info. You may have noticed there was a quick little glimpse into weapon crafting at the top of that video. Well, let's take a moment to walk through it. No, not just the video, but crafting as a feature. Afterwards, we'll follow the TWAB tradition of digging into the nitty-gritty of sandbox balance patch notes in a quick preview. Just kidding. This TWAB is already over 6,000 words. Nothing about it is quick. Let's dig in. All right, boys, let's buckle up. This is by far the girthiest of TWABs we have ever had. Welcome to the Enclave. Savathun is building an army of Hive. These aren't just ordinary Hive, mind you. They've become the Lucent Brood. How could this happen? What will the Vanguard do as we begin to question the line between light and dark? As you begin to unravel the mystery in battle, the Witch Queen's Brood, you'll discover the Enclave. This will be your destination for weapon crafting. Crafting a legendary weapon from scratch isn't a simple matter. Finding patterns, think weapon blueprints, collecting materials, and building your weapon is the starting point. After crafting your tool of destruction, you'll begin to unlock its full potential through combat. So beginning your quests, craft. Early in Witch Queen's campaign, you'll be given an introductory quest that runs you through the ins and outs of crafting. In the first and second missions of the Witch Queen, free to all players, Guardians will uncover the Deep Sight ability and be introduced to the Enclave. This is where you'll begin to shape your first glaive, a brand new weapon archetype being introduced in the Witch Queen. All of the necessary materials will be provided for your first crafted weapon, but you'll also be giving a short tutorial on how to find those materials for future crafting. A subset of weapons and archetypes will be craftable from the start, but more will be added in the future. In order to shape your future tools of destruction, you'll need to do a little bit of research first. Patterns are your first requirement. Some will be acquired through quest completions, while others can be earned by completing various gameplay objectives. Once you've earned your desired pattern, it can be crafted at any time with the required materials. Now, it's all about the mixings. Now, right here, it actually shows an auto rifle being that high impact archetype called Come to Pass. Now, this one does solar. Interesting though, if this is actually the auto rifle that we saw in the gameplay the other day. We did mention though that it did look like a 360. Now, after reaching the Enclave and crafting your first glaive, randomly rolled weapons throughout the game have a chance to drop with a new ability, Deep Sight Resonance. This will be used as you begin to target specific traits to craft. As an example, if you find a Deep Sight Resonance legendary auto rifle with a Rampage perk, you can complete an objective and extract the essence of the perk to then craft a weapon with Rampage or another perk that increases damage. Oh my god. Is this not sounding like the Weapons 3.0 video we talked about extracting a perk out of a gun? Now, in this picture, it actually shows a Guardian holding a Deep Sight Resonance weaponry and is indicated by the red weapon borders. And we actually see a look here at the submachine gun Forensic Nightmare. Interesting that we have a weapon called Forensic, considering the investigation theme that's taking place here with the Witch Queen. But this is actually a Deep Sight Resonant weapon with no progress, essence ready to be attuned through combat. Now, it states right here in the Deep Sight Resonance that the weapon possesses a resonance detectable by your Deep Sight ability, and that you use this weapon in combat to complete activities in order to attune this resonance and extract materials useful for shaping weapons. And it notes the attunement progress. Activity completions and usage of the weapon will progress the Deep Sight Resonance objective. Then we see the auto rifle again here, and yes, it does look like we're actually going to be able to change elemental type, because Come to Pass, it's showing arc damage here, whereas above it showed solar damage. So this is actually the auto rifle we did see in the trailer the other day, but this is after you fully progressed it and the essence is ready to be extracted. Now, like current weapons, not every weapon pattern will be compatible with every trait, but you'll have a good list of traits to mix and match as you customize a given weapon to your desired specifications. It doesn't stop there though. Through the Enclave, you'll also be be able to kick things up a notch and enhance your traits to strengthen their flavor. Oh my god. Let's talk about leveling your weapons and enhanced traits. Once a weapon is crafted, Guardians may begin to increase its level by using it in activities and by defeating enemies. This is where the bulk of your crafting playtime will be. The more you use a weapon, the faster you unlock its full potential. Enhanced stats and traits can be unlocked when reaching higher levels, granting slight bonuses to your weapon's capabilities. Our goal through this system is to give players a reason to invest in their weapons, far beyond what masterworking could offer in the past. Each weapon can now act as a long-tail pursuit as you look to make your freshly crafted weapon the best it can be. So looking right here, you actually see the high impact frame where you can actually boost the weapon through its archetype at a specific stat. Look at that. You're actually gaining plus 10 handling. Now, is this the masterwork? It's a possibility that it is just the masterwork, but let's continue. Now, it can be intimidating to start making decisions on how to build your weapons, so we are also giving you the ability to reshape your crafted weapons in the Enclave if you want to mix up the components of your weapons after you finish crafting them. You can switch up what barrel, max, or traits you choose so you don't feel like you gotta lock down one path forever. Oh, vault space? Fellas, I don't know how much it's gonna cost, and hopefully not much, but essentially even after you level up a weapon completely, you'll be able to go back to the Enclave and change out the role that you want. Now, is this as good as we hoped? I think ideally I was hoping we would be able to just open up a weapon and have every trait perk available on a single weapon and we can just select it right there in the menu, but this is the next best thing. This will allow us to keep one weapon, level it up, and then afterwards choose the desired trait combinations that we want. It's a dream come true, guys. Now, as Guardians begin to embrace this new system, you'll begin to see new legends rise. Some will prefer hockey and other foundries. Others may dabble in new weapons from Redacted. We're excited to see which weapons you embrace. Now, mementos. While the majority of your crafting experience will be dedicated to mixing, matching, and enhancing traits, there is also an opportunity for a bit of customization when it comes to appearances and activity-specific trackers. At launch, one weapon memento will become available for players to earn through Gambit, unlocking a Gambit theme appearance and tracker. Rank up your weapons to max level, head back to the Enclave, and apply your freshly earned memento for some sweet flair. Now, more of these will come online through Trials with Cyrus, Grandmaster Nightfalls. We have more plans for mementos down the line, and we are excited to introduce a new in-game rarity cosmetic item for players to chase as they build out their new arsenal of weaponry. So again, this is another way of saying that ornaments, although normally present in the Eververse store, will be obtainable in-game. And I know there is some ornaments already for our rituals that are obtainable in-game, but this is good. This may become more of a norm, and we're gonna see like a progression or even a more of a progression away from ornaments for legendary weapons in the Eververse. Now, moving on to exotic crafting though. Legendary weapons aren't the only thing that you'll be able to craft. The upcoming Osteostriga exotic SMG and the 3 class unique exotic glaives can also be crafted through the Enclave, once you find the respective patterns, of course. While legendary weapons can be crafted from the ground up, exotic crafting is more about fine-tuning that specific exotic with a defined identity. You may have the opportunity to customize things like barrels or stocks while preserving the exotic look and feel. Looking for a longer range profile for the weapon or opt to shred through your enemies up close and personal? Through the Enclave, you can do just that. Honestly, what this sounds like to me, because Bungie already started leaning into this, right? Like last year with Dead Man's Tale, Hawk Moon, etc. You're seeing more randomly rolled exotics. This is actually going to be a way, and notice they said barrels and stocks, but I'm sure traits may even be thrown in there as well, but this may be a way for us to start getting more randomly rolled exotics on top of what exotics have in their base exotic perk itself. Now, Bungie continues, we're at the end of our weapon crafting preview. Will you have questions? Undoubtedly. Launch day of the Witch Queen is just around the corner, and we're excited to see what weapons you create. Don't worry, we aren't done with the TWAB just yet. We still have some exciting news regarding weapons to cover, so let's talk tuning. Now, before we move on to the tuning section, again, just kind of circling back to what we've just seen here, and I'm sure within the next day, we'll have even more information on this matter. The point is, it seems we're going to have influence on just about everything on a weapon, including its elemental type, which is huge. Considering we just saw there that come to pass, it shows 1550 power solar, and then down here at the bottom, we see it as arc. And also, if you notice there, some new traits that are found on that weapon, right? But if you look behind the weapons themselves, I know it's being covered up, but the bigger takeaway, at least from what I'm seeing here, is the ability to slot 3 different traits. Now, what that could actually be is the Foundry trait bonus itself. Notice Bungie mentioned Hockey and other Foundries, Amalot, Text Mechanica, Redacted. Maybe that trait column is just showing whatever passive bumps we may get from the Foundry we chose. Oh, it seems too much, man. If that's actually the case, though, then this does truly justify the removal of orb creation, but we'll see. Now, moving on, tuning up, tuning down, tuning all around. Crafting is going to introduce an entirely new way to invest in a given weapon. When hunting for your new favorites, weapons, it's not just about looks, but about the feel. Weapons feature lead Chris Proctor is on deck to walk through some changes coming to weapons, perks, and archetypes in the Witch Queen. The team has been hard at work over the last few months to bring this to life, and we've got a lot to cover. So if you're new to the Destiny Sandbox, or aren't too deep in the terminology and know-how, this can be a lot to process at first glance. While we know a few of our Sandbox-minded community members will break this down through YouTube videos and write-ups, there's no shame in skimming this. Sandbox is about the feel, and you'll be getting your hands on these changes when the Witch Queen launches. If you're brave enough to take on the challenge of reading this in full, take it slow. Grab some water, maybe a little snack too. So right here, from Chris Proctor, from Pinnacle to Pursuit weapons. When Pinnacle weapons were introduced, they were tuned and presented as being best-in-class weapons to act as rewards for players dedicated to a particular activity. They excited and motivated players, but they were expensive to build for legendary weapons and had some undesirable side effects, such as PvP Pinnacle weapons becoming mandatory in PvE, Recluse, and Mountaintop, or becoming incredibly unpleasant to play against, or so strong that no other weapon in the class could compete in PvP, Mountaintop, and Not Forgotten, and also Recluse. When we moved away from Pinnacle weapons, we didn't go into much detail, so we like to take a moment to clarify the move, and also introduce the Pursuit weapon for next season. The intent, as of Season 12, is that a Pursuit weapon should be a solid weapon, roughly 70% of a god roll in its archetype, with perk options that work well in PvP and in PvE, which can be reliably obtained without a huge grind. These should act as a good starter weapon for both PvP and PvE, while leaving space for weapons from Pinnacle activities like trials, raids, and nightfalls to exceed this potential. We generally ship a similar weapon with higher potential in the same season. Note, Salvager Salvo basically ignores this guideline. Oops, but we really wanted to put Chain Reaction on a special ammo weapon and don't currently see a reason to touch it. Chain Reaction is going to be rare though on special weapons. Here's a quick breakdown of how each Pursuit weapon since Season 12 compares to the random rolled options currently in game. Adore is a good sniper rifle, but better sniper rifles shipped alongside it or since. Salvager Salvo, Breach Grenade Launcher, is great room clearing weapon, but doesn't have the utility of blinding grenades or auto-loading holster, so other legendary grenade launchers such as Truth Teller or Ignition Code often take its place in hardest of content. Null Composure is an excellent fusion rifle, and even more so in the season after it shipped, and brought back the Reservoir Burst perk, but Plug 1 and Glacial Chasm also have Reservoir Burst, and Cartesian Coordinate has better options for DPS. The Ascendancy Rocket Launcher brought back Explosive Light perk, but Hothead can also get this, and it has other good perk options. That is true, guys, and that's really the way Pursuit weapons have become. Before, Pinnacles were the king of everything, and then now they're really just the next step to get to the best, right? Outside of Glacial Chasm. That's a weird one, right? You just had to bake some cookies for that one. And with that, let's look at the Reckless Endangerment Pursuit Shotgun. This weapon is coming in Season 16 and introduces the new Steady Hands perk for massive handling boost after kill, plus Snapshot. There are several other shotguns in the release with more sought after PvP and PvE roles. Oh, will you look at that? Sexy. Now, normally I don't like weapons that require a kill activation for just a stat bump like handling. I don't think it's saying we get Snapshot by default, but instead we are granted Snapshot after getting a kill plus whatever handling boost you get. Now, origin traits. We've been talking about the difficulty of making different weapons of the same type feel unique for years at this point, and in the Witch Queen we're doing something about it. Every weapon that's new or returning in the Witch Queen will have an origin trait determined by its source in a third trait column, including all new legendary weapons and all returning trials, Iron Banner, and Nightfall weapons. Origin traits will only appear on new drops of a weapon, and they won't be retroactively added to old drops. So that is that third column. It's an origin trait, okay? These traits vary in effect, but the guideline is that they either have high uptime and medium power effects or low uptime and high power. Ah, okay. There are currently 14 origin traits in total shipping in the Witch Queen and in Season 16, and we expect to ship around 3 new ones each season after Season 16. For example, one for Season 17, one for the raid or dungeon, and one for the seasonal event until we have one for each event. When we refresh old weapons from a given source, for example, an existing raid or old pool of seasonal weapons, we may create a new origin trait at the same time. So it sounds like it's very open-ended on the inclusion of these origin traits, but let's look at some of the examples they're about to give here. First up, Trials of Osiris. Alacrity. Gain increased reload, stability, aim assist, and range when you are the last living member of your fire team or running solo. Now this includes a variety of stat bumps, plus 20 reload, plus 20 stability, plus 10 aim assist, plus 10 in range. Solo includes solo lost sectors and rumble, for example. Holy hell. Are you kidding? All right. So it's essentially like last resort from back inside of Destiny 1, maybe even better, right? Or celerity. We talked about intrinsic perks, and Bungie mentioned like the memory capacity on weapons had been maxed because of the orb creation that was present on them. Now, Nightfall Strikes, stunning recovery. Stunning a champion partially refills your magazine. magazine. It also triggers health regeneration and improves recovery for a short duration. Now, this actually grants 60 health instantly and plus 40 recovery for 3 seconds. Question we have to ask, does that plus 40 recovery go past the cap? Either way, that's fantastic. Crucible, one quiet moment. Grants increased reload speed when out of combat. Plus 40 reload stat when out of combat. Haven't dealt to receive damage in 4 whole seconds. Now, that's kind of a tough one. I mean, it's still nice, and it's just an added passive, but I'm just thinking like PvE, considering how often you're in combat, right? Now, strikes. Vanguard Vindication. Final blows with this weapon grant a small amount of health. Small equals 7 health. Oh, I mean, it is a small amount, but still. It's obvious that the higher Pinnacle activities grant much more. Surprising not to see anything Grandmaster specific here. Now, anytime it makes sense, due to the source activity, a weapon will have multiple origin traits selectable. For example, a Nightfall weapon can select between Nightfall and Vanguard traits. A Trials of Osiris weapon can select between Trials and Crucible traits. The Pursuit weapons can select between the Gambit, Vanguard, and Crucible traits since it can be acquired from one of these activities. Again, these are just some of the examples. I'm sure there is something that's Grandmaster related. Notice I even mentioned Gambit. Fellas, we're getting 14 of these traits, 14 of these passives, with 3 more being added every season. Now, weapon foundries. Oh boy, here we go. Guardian, there was something I wanted to tell you. What was it? Banshee scratches his forehead. Oh yeah, guns. I was clearing out the locker back there. Banshee motions to a dust cake storage container. Found a couple things you might be interested in. The Exo reaches into a crate next to him and pulls out a glistening Fugu 55 sniper rifle. A stack of shiny new Suros weapons, manufactured for the Red War by the looks of them. He peers down the sights of the rifle. Been years since I held a new Suros. Good balance, solid craftsmanship, and this is damn fine work. Banshee stares off wistfully, seemingly to forget you're there. His eyes snap back to you. What was I gonna tell you? All right, guns. Banshee uncrates more weapons in mint condition. These were earmarked for Zavala, Drifter, and Shax. Maybe if you're lucky, they'll let you play with them. There's a lot more of where that came from. Banshee gestures to a whole stack of crates, swimming in a cloud of dust. Hand cannons, pulse rifles, Amalon, hockey, Vice. You're gonna have a ball. Oh, in season 16, we're replacing the old world loot pool with 12 new weapons in the style of Destiny 2 Year 1 Foundry weapon sets. 3 weapons each from the Suros, Amalon, and Hockey and Vice Foundries, plus 1 Foundry weapon each for Vanguard, Gambit, and Crucible. That's right, there it is. We talked about it the other day, guys. Some of these are already jumping out to you, as well as a bunch of new ones as well. Bungie had kind of steered away from some of these Foundry weapons, right? We almost thought they have given up on reaching into the theme of these guns. Each one of these, they possess an intrinsic benefit based on their creation, based on their Foundry. Now, each weapon will come with a Foundry origin trait themed around the Foundry's personality. Suros energy. Reloading grants this weapon bonus handling and reduces incoming flinch for a short time. This is plus 40 in handling, 20% flinch resistance for 6 seconds after reload. Huge, huge, especially for like that Suros hand cannon that you see right there, right? And notice it didn't say reloading after a kill. It just says reloading. Now, Hockey breach armaments. This weapon deals increased damage against vehicles, turrets, barricades, and stasis crystals. Turrets include stasis turrets, plus 15% to vehicles, plus 30% to structures and turrets. Interesting there, right? Considering we're going to be battling up against the Lucent Brood, we may have to take down barricades, stasis crystals, turrets, vehicles, etc. Amalon Fluid Dynamics. This weapon has increased reload speed and stability for the top half of the magazine. Stability includes plus 20, reload plus 30. However, this does reduce as the magazine gets lower. You know what's interesting is if you find an Amalon weapon that has things like under pressure, this can combat that, right? So you're starting with the top half with the base Amalon benefits, and as you get lower into the magazine, under pressure will pick up when Amalon Fluid Dynamics dips off. Now, Vice Stinger. Chance on damage to partially refill this weapon's magazine. Incredible, especially considering Vice weapons like Valagadin are really big magazine guns. You can imagine a trait like this paired with something like Subsistence on Valagadin. Now, in addition to the Foundry origin traits, each Foundry weapon perk pools lean into the Foundry's identity. Big damage for Hockey, consistency for Suros, ability tie-ins, and weird stuff for Amalon, and never stop firing for Vice. Yeah, that's pretty much their themes, right? Look at that Hockey hand cannon, right? What was that one? Back inside of Destiny 1. I can't recall, but that definitely looks like half Dan there underneath. Now, Foundry weapons that drop from sources aside from the loot pool can switch between the Foundry trait and the sources trait. This doesn't imply that Foundry weapons will become common outside of the rule pool. For example, a roll on a new Gambit Hockey high impact auto rifle, Herod C, might look like this. Oh, I take that back. That's not Halfdan. It's a new one. Here at C. Corkscrew rifling, polygonal rifling, armor-piercing rounds, flare magwell, perpetual motion, focus fire, and then the origin trait, invader tracker, hockey breach armaments, which is the one we just went over a second ago with that increase in damage, and then of course the kill tracker and a ranged masterwork. Interesting right here. First up, couple things to take away from this. Focus fire on a high impact auto rifle. Get out of here. We're talking about an auto rifle. Instead of it shooting at 360 rounds per minute, what's that drop it to, guys? Like 300? A 300 round per minute auto? The other side of things is this, the ability to switch, right? You're able to switch between its origin, where you actually obtain the weapon, and its actual foundry. I love that Bungie is leaning into the foundries now, and everything here really does embody their identities. I think of these things when I play with these weapons. It truly is their feel. Now, we know we haven't brought back all your favorite foundry weapon types, but don't worry. You can expect to see weapon foundries receive new additions each season for the year following the Witch Queen, with some fun surprises thrown in later in the year. Amazing. All right, let's continue, guys. We could talk about this for hours though, but moving on to global. All right, this is where some fun begins. The rest of this section will be more of a patch note preview feel. Lots of bullets, not a lot of pictures. Still have that snack and water handy? Feel free to take a moment and get a refill. Kill trackers were once reason to masterwork a weapon, but we now have no reason to gate these behind masterwork. They'll be present by default on all weapons that shipped Forsaken, and later exotic weapons prior to Forsaken will be updated in a later release. Yes, this means masterworking should no longer be seen as mandatory, and we expect the +10 to a weapon stat or a +10 to a primary stat +3 to other stats for adepts to only matter to dedicated PvP players. We have no specific plans for changes to masterworking at this stage, but we will revisit it later. Note that we did discuss gating the origin trait behind masterworking, but ultimately this wouldn't have achieved the goal of weapon differentiation for non-masterworked weapons. Now, following the Armor's team's footsteps, weapon mods for legendary weapons are now free and instant to insert. Excellent. We believe that many pain points around special weapons in Crucible are exacerbated by how easy it is to currently use and acquire special ammo. And while we've touched this in the past, we're making a further adjustment now. Players now only drop one special ammo on death or equivalent, no matter how much they were carrying, as long as they weren't completely empty. The maximum you can pick up off of a special brick is one for shotgun, fusion rifles, or sniper rifles, or equivalent for other weapons. Scavenger mods add to this as normal, but will be evaluating their place in Crucible in the future. Players quickly found another way to execute the quick swap glitch, so we fixed another animation cancel. All right, so the main takeaway is again, Bungie's really taking swings here at special ammo, really trying to drive primary game here. Now moving on to archetypes. The Season 15 fusion rifle rework had a lot of moving parts. Rapid fire, precision, and adaptive fusions came out of this different, but all quite strong. But high impact fusions are hurting. We've definitely seen all the fusion rifle subfamilies occupy different roles and want to maintain the large difference in charge time to keep these distinct for now. So we're nudging damage up to make it easier for these to land kills at range in PvP, and we're bumping the PvE damage scaler. That said, we'll keep an eye on how they're doing and may adjust charge time down a smidge in future releases. So we're increasing high impact fusion rifle damage per bolt from 62 to 64. This doesn't seem like a lot, but it allows more rolls to cross bolts to kill thresholds. Actually, that is a huge one. I mentioned in the past that high impact reserves on fusion rifles was the go-to perk because essentially it did allow you to land that 3-bolt kill. If it's getting bumped up to 62 to 64, high impact is still going to be a good perk to choose. You're still going to get somewhere around like 65-ish, which means you can almost kill guardians at max resilience or somewhere around that mark. But 64 is still going to allow you to kill guardians at 192 health. What is that? 7 resilience. I just checked. It's actually 6 resilience. So yeah, it's more of a factor of reliability here. They also increased high impact fusion rifle PvE damage bonus from 15% to now 20%. Interesting. Now we like that crowd control capabilities of breach grenade launchers in PvE have taken off, but as it stands, there isn't a meaningful trade-off for the added utility that blinding or concussion grenades give you, and it's unreasonable that a way to really annoy other players in PvP can also one-shot them. So we're reducing blinding and concussion grenade damage by 25%. Dude, that blast radius is already abysmal, right? But the utility is still there, and I think I'm still going to use blinding grenades inside of PvE. Now, rocket launcher subfamilies have lacked meaningful differences for a while now, and the free tracking precisions are flat out better, so we're pushing them further apart by adjusting damage. We may take a deeper look at rocket launchers later, but damage adjustment by subfamily, precision 0.95, high impact 1x, adaptive 1.05x, aggressive also 1.05x. All right, so increases in damage ultimately, right? Question is how much overlap would this have on things like Gallahorn? We took a big swing at sniper rifle aim assist based on zoom and beyond light, and I've seen this play out and are revisiting the tuning on zoom based aim assist scaling. Low zoom snipers got more of an aim assist reduction than needed, and high zoom snipers are getting some pretty silly headshots right now. So reducing variance in aim assist scaling between low 35 zoom and high zoom 60 zoom sniper rifles. Cone angle scaler increased by 25% on low zoom, reduced by 9% on high zoom. Oh boy, boy. All right, I hope y'all are ready. Got a sniper rifle meta incoming, no lie. Just in time for Icebreaker. Now, pulse rifles take slightly too long to kill red bar enemies in PvE. We're buffing their damage versus miners by 10%. But if you want exotic pulse rifles to feel better at this, oh boy, keep reading. Oh! This takes us to the exotic weapon portion of this video. Exotic weapons. Exotic primary weapons and trace rifles aren't sufficiently stronger than legendaries for them to be worth bringing into hard PvE content, particularly against miners. Note, this change applies to all exotics that use primary ammo and includes most secondary effects, perk triggering explosions. Now, they increase damage versus miners in PvE by 40%. Oh my god, that is ginormous. And it includes the secondary effects. So again, Sunshot, Trinity Ghoul, Prometheus Lens. Now, Chaperone is a terror in PvP, particularly with nerfs to pellet shotguns and the reduced frequency of grenade and melee abilities. And it outperforms some weapons that ought to be good counters to it. For example, sidearms and submachine guns. So we reduced the passive range buff from 2 meters to now only half a meter. Get wrecked, Chaperone! That's a ginormous nerf. Holy hell. A whole meter and a half? Now, Duality is in a similar place to Chaperone, but it's not quite as rangy. On the other hand, its exotic trait shipped with the constraint that it would wipe on reload to make it harder to chain. Having seen it in action for a while now, we don't think that limitation needs to be there. So reduce the passive range buff in slug mode when aiming down sights from 1.25 to now half a meter. Pellet mode is unaffected. The on Black Wings damage buff no longer clears on reload. Okay, that's a good thing for both PvE and for PvP. But man, it's also getting a range nerf. It was already under Chaperone by a whole meter. I was really thinking Duality was about to be top dog, right? Now, Teraba is extremely strong as it is, but it currently demands complete commitment with no weapon switching. This constraint is a bit harsher than it needs to be, so we've loosened it without removing it entirely. Also, while the duration extension when damaging players did actually function in PvP, it was so subtle that players kept reporting that it was bugged, so we bumped them up. Now reduces perk progress by half instead of clearing it on weapon stow. Increase Ravenous Beast duration increase from damaging a player slightly. Here's the thing, guys. Teraba is actually a monster inside of PvP. This is gonna make it a top tier choice next season. Ruinous Effigy has been overdue for a look at its Beyond Light nerf, the nerf to damage dealt while guarding. So we're rolling that back. Note that the other part of that nerf was to airborne standard melee attacks, and this hasn't been touched. So we increased the damage dealt by guarding with the Transmutation Sphere by 66%. It was 30% previously against players. Note the Transmutation Sphere multi-kills now count for Orb Generation armor mods. Previously only kills with the beam would trigger this. I know some of you even forgot Ruinous Effigy existed. One of my favorite weapons in the game. Fantastic trace rifle. Who doesn't like the slam dunk? Luminous stats just don't compare with other 140 round per minute hand cannons, and its usage reflects that. So we're updating these alongside some of the legendary hand cannons that also used to be 150 round per minutes. Lumina is getting an increase in its range stat from 44 to now 59. Also increased the base stability stat from 46 to 56. Sorry, Thorn fans. Thorn is already strong and popular, and a similar buff would turn it into a monster in PvP. No! Now, Agar Scepter, initial implementation, used super regeneration scalers, which had a very weird effect in activities that also had scalers. So we rebuilt it to turn off regeneration while active and have implemented a slower drain using a different method. So we fixed being able to activate or continue using Empower mode while suppress or stasis in case. We also rebuilt the perk used to modify super charge rate, now freezes super recharge and deducts super directly, fixing several issues with activities that change charge rate and outliers for recharge based on the intellect stats. Also, the super should now drain more slowly while empowered. Again, Agris is another one of those. It's getting that 40% buff alongside trace rifles and other exotics, right? Against miners, it's only going to get better. Now that they're making this change, it's like a better version of TWAB. I take that back, Bungie. Please give us TWAB. Moving on to Dead Man's Tale. Dead Man's Tale feels good to use on both mouse and keyboard and controller now, and we don't want it to go back to it feeling unreliable, and it's far too good at spamming hipfire shots at long range as it stands. So we reduced the catalyst hipfire rate of firing from 150 to now 130. Oh my god. DMT has been real, man. I'm just gonna have to use you as much as I can until the nerf. That is a substantial nerf. Substantial. Lawrence Driver and Arbalist remain fairly hard to counter in PvP. One common complaint is how easily they can shoot through flinch. We'll be keeping an eye on these moving forward and have another change planned if needed. They increase the flinch that they received. Hopefully it's enough. Forerunner's ammo economy was fairly conservative when we shipped in the 30th anniversary, but having seen how it's used in PvP, we believe it would benefit from gaining a little more ammo per special brick. So we increased ammo picked up from special ammo brick from 2 to now 3, and from 4 to now 5 with the scavenger mod. Interesting right here that they didn't actually actually give a bump to its special ammo on spawn, right? Like its base special ammo. It's just when you pick up special. All around, I like these changes. I think these are good changes. Let's move on now to legendary weapons. Several legendary weapons have out-of-bound stats, either to their benefit, detriment, or a bit of both. When infusion caps were still around, this was okay because they'd cycle out eventually. But now that weapons remain viable in all activities, definitely, and the solution is to just adjust outliers to being banned. Now, hand cannons. The ban for legendary 140 round per minute hand cannon aim assist ends at 84, and this extreme should be for a hand cannon from a Pinnacle activity like a raid or trials. But when 150s were converted to 140s, many of their stats were either too low or too high. So we're adjusting the stats of these to be within standard ranges up or down, or as follows: an overall buff in most cases. So for Dire Promise, plus 40 in range, plus 3 in stability, minus 4 in aim assist. Waking Vigil, plus 6 in range, plus 5 in stability, minus 3 in aim assist. Jack Queen King, plus 3 in range, plus 3 in stability, minus 8 in aim assist. Spare Rations, plus 4 in range, plus 4 stability, minus 9 in aim assist. I just want to point out right here, guys, Waking Vigil, one of the best filling hand cannons in the game. It's only going to get better. I would take that range bump all day long and lose a little bit in aim assist. Felwinner's Lie intrinsic perk makes it far too consistent and lethal compared to similar shotguns, and it's had plenty of time to shine. Now, it would get a plus 15 in percent and its spread angle. Fair enough. Most of the Igalo's SMG's stats are wildly out of band for aggressive SMGs, but it does suffer from having low zoom compared to other popular options. So now they're going to increase the zoom by plus 1. They are going to knock the range down by minus 5, minus 7 in stability, minus 8 in handling, and minus 5 in aim assist. Oh boy, that's just a nerf. You can keep your zoom, Bungie. Dang, man. Typically, we don't adjust base stats on specific weapons at all post-ship, so we don't intend to do this regularly. That is true. Good on Bungie to make a sweep here on these, especially our old 150 round per minute hand cannons. Now, perks. We want players to be able to choose to build into hip firing more easily, so we're adjusting the hip fire grip perk to support this. Oh god. Oh god, no. Now increase damage fall off start and end distance by 20%, except on shotgun, sniper rifles, and fusion rifles. Bungie, what is you doing? Last word? You was about to be even more nasty. Adagio often felt like it changed the weapon subfamily to the next slowest rate of fire, but worse, particularly when comparing damage fall off. So we increased the duration from 5 seconds to now 7 seconds. We also increased the damage bonus, except on bows and fusion rifles, from 25% to now 30%. Now adds a plus 10 in its range stats, added a timer to the buff text to make it easier to tell when it's going to expire. This almost reminds me of like a kill activation version of Focus Fire with like a sub-level below killing wind, right? Either way, not bad. I'll take it. Dual loader is okay on paper, but in practice, that reload speed is pretty painful. Reduce the reload stat penalty from minus 50 to now minus 35. Meta! Danger Zone felt pretty risky to use in some cases, resulting in a lot of self-damage. So we reduced the self-damage scalar for grenade launchers combined with other scalars. This ends up reducing self-damage from 1.25 to now 0.75. Ah, so you're telling me I can use my grenade launcher as a shotgun. Let's go! Tap the Trigger is a meta-breaking perk on particular fusion rifles. When stacked with other elements of this role, it makes fusion rifles much too stable. So much so that we stopped putting it on fusion rifles, and then Squidface sold it a few times. My man just called Zer Squidface. No! With this change, we believe it's still quite strong without being overpowered. So on fusion rifles only, we're reducing the stability bonus from plus 40 to now plus 10. We also changed the max recoil angle scale from 0.5 to 0.875 and changed error angle scale from 0.9 to now 0.975. All right, so is it getting more vertical? Obviously, substantially less though in the stability bump. Plus 40. I didn't even know Tap the Trigger gave that much. Jesus. Now this is unchanged on all other weapons, only for fusion rifles. Headseeker didn't work as intended on aggressive burst pulse rifles because the buff's duration was too short. Sacred Providence is the only viable pulse rifle that benefits from this in Season 16. Although there is such a pulse rifle in the season, it doesn't roll with Headseeker, but expect to see more in future seasons. So we actually extended the buff duration from 0.17 to now 0.3 seconds. So enough to get in the damage on the second burst, pretty much. Yeah, essentially, guys, what they're talking about is the rate of fire of those pulse rifles is too slow. So by the time you proc Headseeker, couldn't follow up with that benefit. Let's talk Eager's Edge. It's a lot of fun to use, but it can be used to do some mind-blowing environmental break things if used in a particular way while airborne. While the tuning below isn't meant to remove the fun factor, we have a fresh raid and other fun content coming with the Witch Queen and want to ensure we retain challenge behind our upcoming rewards. Breaking out of maps can be fun indeed, but it can easily remove the prestige and value of a given item or experience. So reducing the lunge distance benefit while airborne by 25%. Now caps maximum player airborne velocity to a fair high value while active. Yeah, I knew that was probably going to happen considering everybody was already showing ways in which they were glitching and stuff with Eager's Edge. Oh well. It was fun for a minute. Occasionally, we'll shelve perks because they're not working for some reason. Too strong or too weak. complete. Now this means we won't put these on weapons in the future unless we change the perk. In many cases, we rather put design work into new perks than old ones, but there's a whole perk section here. Anyway, these perks are shelved. Some have been shelved for a while. Bottomless Grief and Celerity. Both were attempts to inject some uniqueness into Trials of Osiris and Nightfall weapons, which we're now doing with the origin traits. That's true. Underdog, shelved. Shield Disorient, shelved. Air Assault, though note that this may get a redesign in a future season, shelved. Not Air Assault, right? Come on. Increased handling while airborne. Now in the near future, in Season 17, we'll have a set of PvP-focused weapon changes, including new ways for players to build for flinch resistance, balance tuning for primary weapons, looking at you, pulse rifles, lightweights in particular, special weapons, snapshot filling mandatory on sniper rifles and PvP, other balance changes, another PvP special ammo economy change if needed, adjusting out zoom outliers, both low and high affect the performance of such set of weapons. The scope column shouldn't be the most important thing on a weapon. This could take various forms, but the intent is to bring both high and low outliers toward the average, to the overall benefit of the weapon's archetype. We're also going to be adjusting several much requested exotics along with legendary perks. Cheers to Proctor and the team for that massive info dump. We'll have a full roundup of patch notes on February 22nd when the Witch Queen goes live. Stay tuned. Guys, that was beefy, man. Beefy. All very, very good stuff. I don't think I read anything there outside of the potential last word meta that's about to come, and of course sniper rifles are going to be hotter. Maybe that's what people want though, man. Either way it goes, I have liked everything that I've seen, especially the origin traits. That to me is so great. More ways to make your weapon unique, even for our legendaries. Now, some weapon cycling here. The following weapons will be leaving the ritual reward pool with the launch of Witch Queen on February the 22nd. This includes Igneous Hammer, Solar Scar, The Swarm, Shadow Price, Izumi, Hungjury, Multimac, Time Worn Spire, Guiding Sight, and Steady Hand. Players should make sure to claim all Ingrams and other rewards before the new season begins. Any rewards not claimed from ritual vendors, Zavala Shax, Drifter, and Saint 14 will be removed at the end of the season. Now, as an outro here from DMG, well, you've made it. Once again, a mega TWAB has landed, and you've read every word of it. Maybe almost every word. I know some of you skipped the outros. Between now and launch, we have a few more little things to cover in TWABs, but we aren't expecting anything as long as this edition. These next few weeks will be your opportunity to rest up before the launch of our next expansion. Get some sleep, eat well, maybe even soak in some sunlight if the weather permits. Of course, you're going to maintain a healthy lifestyle after February the 22nd, right? There won't be any moments where you think I'll do the dishes later, or I guess I could take the trash out next week while leveling up your brand new freshly crafted weapon. On a final somber note, before we go, we'd like to take a moment to honor one of our moderators. We received tragic news over the weekend that Seraphim Crypto, one of our German community volunteers, passed away. Words are incredibly difficult to find here. Seraphim has been among the Destiny community since the start, pitching in to help anyone who needed an assist, or simply sitting back and relaxing among our forums to pass the time. We met him in person on his own home turf when visiting Germany for Gamescom, and even had him come out to Seattle to help us with the community summit. Every exchange was positive, inspiring, and heartfelt. His love for the community was immeasurable. You could tell with every exchange how wonderful, unique, and passionate he was, and how much of an inspiration he'd be, not only to us at Bungie, but to players of our worldwide community. Thank you for everything, Seraphim. You are loved, you are missed. We hope you're able to rest well and are sending our love to your family. Much love, DMG. Hate to hear that, man. I hope I'm saying his name right, but yes, much love to him and his family, and my condolences. With that being said, guys, I hope you did like today's TWAB. I hope you're liking what you're seeing going forward. Everything here is shaping up to be the biggest expansion in Destiny's history. Feel free to let me know in the comments below, though, what you think of all these changes, what you think of weapon crafting. I'm sure we'll end up doing an even deeper dive on this topic later this weekend. Well, fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.